How to translate your course online, content and assignment. So you decided to transfer your course in an online environment, and you're very stressed out because there's so many different software, so many different functions, and just so much noise. And you wonder, how can I do the minimum viable tasks and get my course online quickly? So let's just find the most important thing about online course. There are actually three major purposes for an online course. The first one is present essential content. In a face-to-face environment, we usually use PowerPoint, we use videos, we talk, and then we probably show them some handouts like a book chapters, a research paper, a report, things like that. And the second major purpose for an online course is student engagement. So there are a few ways that students can engage with the content. The first way to engage with the content is obviously when they're in a face-to-face environment, they look at you, they listen to you, they watch the video that you show them, and they think, right? They think based on your questions. And in an online environment, in addition to all that, they can actually go find out any content you have for them. If you give them a book chapter to read, they will read it. If you give them a video to watch, they will watch it. Then you give them probably like a quick quiz to check their learning progress. They will do the quiz. And the final purpose of an online course is distribute assignment and post grades. So in a face-to-face environment, it's just natural to us that the way that we do assignment is basically we tell them what they need to do, then they do it in their own time, then they submit it to us, then we grade the class assignment, then we post the grade to them through probably emails, or maybe we will distribute those assignments in a face-to-face environment. So in an online environment, everything will be transferred online. They will be able to submit their assignment, read assignment instructions. Then upon their submission, you will be able to see their assignment, grade the assignment, and post grades. And they will be able to see those grades real time as well. So these are the three most important purposes for an online course. Now, let's take a pause here. Let's visualize your typical face-to-face experience for your student. Think about who are your student, what day of the week is the class, when does the class start and when does it end? And there are a few details. For example, if you're doing a face-to-face class, how do you usually begin your class? And if you're doing, say, a 3-hour class, for the first half of the class, what do you do? What do you talk about? What do you show them? What kind of activities that you engage them in? And the second half of the class, what do you present? What kind of activities do they do? What kind of important objectives that you make sure you need to hit? And to wrap up the class, what kind of activities do you usually do? And how do you usually end the class? So we can take if you're watching this video, you can take a pause here. Give yourself maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes and have a piece of paper, get a pen, and just write down in a face-to-face environment, how do you usually deliver your class? So I'm assuming that you just spent 2 minutes to jot down your face-to-face experience. Now let's take an example here. So for example, if you are teaching a course about teaching and and you have around 15 students and you gather them every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. And in the beginning of the class, you give them a debrief. You tell them what the lesson plan is for today. You review what they've learned previously, and you jumpstart the course. And for the first half, you present a PowerPoint presentation, talk about key summary points for the previous readings or researchings or video watching, and you just give them kind of a summary to help them digest the content more. And you will probably bring more information to jumpstart today's meetings. Then you probably will have a live discussion, invite students to brainstorm a potential lesson plan focus, or talk about the importance of using technology in the classroom. Then you take a break. Then the second half, you decide to focus more on the content of teaching. So it's going to focus mostly on the readings that they've done. So you will present the readings again. You probably will present more readings. Then you will have a live discussion or reflection, inviting students to share what they've learned based on their readings during the past weeks. Then you wrap up and you tell them, okay, here are a few assignments. These are the due dates. And if you want to meet me in person, this is my office hour and this is my office location. So that's basically a typical online, this is actually a typical face-to-face experience. Then let's take an inventory of all your homework and assignment here. So for all your homework and assignment, you tell them to read a book chapter, you tell them to watch a video, you tell them to carry on the discussions. If they wanted to expand it a little bit after class, feel free to have their own mini groups and talk it out. And then you tell them this is the assignment, due date is next Wednesday, submit it by then, criteria or rubrics are here. Make sure you follow those instructions. Then you tell them, okay, so this is the office hour. If you wanted to meet me, if you're struggling, if you wanted to explore new topics, feel free to meet me here and there. So that wraps up a comprehensive face-to-face experience. Now let's take a look at all the assignment that you have throughout the semester. So for example, if this is a course about teaching, you have all these 6 assignments throughout the semester. You ask them to write a weekly reflection, either in writing or in their own discussion groups. You ask them to write a final lesson plan. Probably there will be a draft lesson plan somewhere, and you will walk them through, review their lesson plans through office hours or through in-class discussions. Then you ask them to submit the final lesson plan. You ask them to have a PowerPoint presentation with handout to show everybody what you've learned. Probably present like a case lesson plan or maybe a research topic about how to use technology effectively in the classroom. Then you ask them to have a final learning reflection essay built upon the weekly learning reflections. Then you want them to write a family letter for their student to read to their parents or guardians. You want them to write a critique essay based on a teaching video, analyze what they've done right, what they've done not so good, and what things they can potentially improve and how you can improve that. And you probably will bring out some of the state criteria based on the educational learning objectives and things like that. So all these things are a collection of typical assignment in a teaching class. Now, because we're talking about putting course online, and you're probably frustrated and like, okay, does online learning only have not face-to-face interactions and just probably all I can do is just post informations, post reading articles, post videos, and then that's it. I don't have to see my students, I don't have to get together at the same time because they may have different schedules. Then we're gonna make a big sacrifice if we decide to move online because we will miss all this good old fashion like interpersonal connections and relationships. Well, actually, no. Actually, you can. You can actually meet your student at a certain time online, face to face. It's like having a FaceTime in your iPhone. You can actually break them into different groups and have live discussions. And you can actually have interactive activities online while you're doing an online course with them. And a few of the critical softwares that will make up 80% roughly experiences like a face-to-face learning experience would be softwares like Blackboard Collaborate or Zoom, or if you are a Skype person, you can use Skype, or there's Google Hangouts. So all the online chatting face-to-face softwares can help you solve about 80% of your challenges while you're moving a face-to-face learning experience to an online environment. And in a Blackboard, for example, let's take Blackboard Collaborate as an example. So Blackboard Collaborate can actually do a few things. First, obviously, it's webcam. You can project your voice, your image to your class at the same time. Then it has a live discussion. You can actually break your students into different discussion rooms, and they can have small group-based discussions. Then you can bring them back and have a class-wide discussions at the same time. And then it has whiteboard function. So you have the freedom to write, type, or draw anything on the whiteboard, and everybody will be able to see that. So all these different functions can actually help you transfer the face-to-face experience online. Now let's review here. Let's review the 3 most important functions of an online course. So the first one is present essential content, and then student engage with the content and distribute assignment and post grade. Now, if we wanted to kind of manifest this 3 elements into an online environment, and what does that look like? Like what kind of element would that be about? So there are a few basic learning experiences. So we can use Blackboard Collaborate, or we can use Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout to have the face-to-face experience in an online environment through videos and cameras. Obviously, we will miss some part of the important information. For example, in a face-to-face environment, you probably can see their body language and their small facial expressions that looks confused or like zoomed out. Then you can pause and redirect. But in an online environment, some of those will be missed, but you can still see their face if they decide to turn on the camera. And if you and there's also like buttons in the platform where the students can press a button and show that they're confused or they're happy or they're content or they're excited to learn more. There are some ways, which is a good makeup for the piece that we potentially would miss. Then another element would be read. So you can probably, if you are using open textbooks, you can probably find free versions of the textbook that you wanted them to read. So you can insert that into your online learning. And then you can add videos, YouTube videos that you've made by yourself and things like that. Then in an online environment, there's a discussion room. There are two types of discussions, as we mentioned before. In a face-to-face, like a collaborate online FaceTime sessions, you can actually do a discussion board discussion real time. But if you're using a discussion board in a post-class environment, you can actually create a forum, and students will come and talk about their thinkings and their views, and everybody can reply to each other. It's more like a kind of a remote community, like the kind of chat rooms that we built in Facebook or Quora, things like that. And the most important thing about effective online discussion with you being there is having good initial questions to get them thinking, then have good due date systems to get them come to the discussion board at a certain time. Then make sure that your expectation for their replies are specified. If you want them to post a reply, you probably can give them an example or provide them with a rubric to organize their thought. And then there will be assignment. So the students will be able to submit their assignment, you will be able to grade them, and you will be able to post grades, and students will be able to see that. So all these little elements in an online environment reflects the three major purposes of an online course. Okay, now let's do some cleaning up. So let's tidy up based on top 3 learning objectives. So if you are doing a course that you have some freedom of designing your own learning objectives, then if you have limited time and you wanted to put your course online, please select 3 major learning objectives. So for example, let's bring back to the previous example of teaching the course about teaching. So for that course, we have 3 major learning objectives. So the first one is student will be able to think critically, either based on questions or discussions, writings, all sorts. Then student need to be able to create an effective lesson plan. Then student will present their findings using PowerPoint. So they will use the PowerPoint to present their discoveries or their topics or their lesson plan. So let's think back. I remember that we listed altogether 6 assignments throughout the semester. So if you have limited time and you wanted to put your course online, it's a good time for us to do a cleaning here. Maybe 6 assignments may be too much if you are all of a sudden doing an online course. So what you can do here is let's compare all these 6 assignments with our top learning objectives and do some cleaning. So the first one, weekly learning reflections in discussion board. Yeah, it's reflection. It taps into their ability of thinking critically. So it matches number 1 pretty well. So let's keep that one. A final lesson plan. Yeah, it matches learning objective number 2. Let's keep that one. And a PowerPoint presentation with handout. Yeah, it matches learning objective number 3. A final learning reflection essay. Number 4 assignment and number 1 assignment kind of talking about the same thing. They're all tapping into their reflection skills, their critical thinking skills. So if you decide to keep number 1, this one let's let go for now. And a family letter. This is not kind of tapping into any of those primary learning objectives here. So let's just let it go for now. And a teaching video critique essay. That sounds like it's tapping into skill objective number 1, because it's really kind of testing their critical thinking a lot here. Again, if you decide to take assignment number 1, then you can let this one go. But if you wanted to take assignment number 6 and let number 1 go, or take number 6 and keep number 1 as a non-graded assignment, that would be good as well. Again, all these assignments that we decide to let go at this point does not mean that we will let it go forever. It's just because if you are putting your course online for the first time, it's good practice for us to be focused and just select a few key assignments to grade the students. There are a few reasons for that. First, there's going to be a learning curve for you. So what if things go wrong for those assignments, and that could potentially negatively impact students' grades? Another reason is it's not just you. The students need to have time to adjust in an online learning environment, because learning online and learning offline require different skill sets. And the ability to concentrate and avoid distractions is the key skill set that students need to have if they decide to learn online. So just keep the assignment minimal, will help both you and your students. All right, so now let's visualize the process of your first online course through the student perspective. So if you have been putting together face-to-face classes all the semesters until this point and you want to switch online, you first send them an email telling them that, hey, we're going to move everything online and this is what you need to know to have our first online class. And I would suggest you to have your first online class as a real-time FaceTime with your students. So you get to see your students, you get to talk with them, and you got to kind of pull them together again, because in a class you usually have your routine. You meet with them at a certain time of a certain day, and if you wanted to move your course online, you don't want to miss that part. It's kind of the rhythm of your class. So you tell them that instead of meeting face-to-face at this time of the week, let's meet online. And in the email, you tell them this is what's going to happen. And of course, there's going to be some technology involved. In your instructions, you will attach a conference link. If you're using Zoom, there's going to be a conference link. If you're using Collaborate, there's going to be a conference link. So all they need to do is just to click on that link and follow the instructions. The instruction may sometimes say, hey, your browser does not support our software. So they need to install whatever softwares required. So for example, if you're using Collaborate, you need to have the updated version of Google Chrome, Firefox, or Safari 11. So make sure that the students know ahead of time. And then once you send them the email, they will be able to follow the instructions. Hopefully they will install all the necessary softwares to get to the login page in order to use the software. So they will log in, then they will log into whatever learning management system that you and your school use. And once they're in the management system, let's make everything simple. Don't kind of overwhelm them with every document that you have and just pile them together in a big folder. This will not help, because for a first-time learner in an online environment, they need detailed sequential instructions. So rather than just post everything in a big folder, a good practice here is to arrange your learning content in one folder and go by time. So for example, if it's week 1, let's put everything in week 1. So everything that they need to know, they go to week 1. And you probably can put like a date there as well. So people know, oh, today is April 1st. All right, let's go to the week that says April 1st. So organize content by time helps to orient your student quickly. And then let's assume that you put everything on week 1 folder, and then when they click on week 1 folder, you tell them a sequenced instruction. So the first thing they need to do is to hop on this week's online session. And by click on here, they go to Blackboard or Zoom or whatever you decide to have. Then probably in your first online class, there's a lot of kind of orientation. It's like they're going to school for the first time. You need to give them a brief orientation of your design of your learning management system, where to find what to do before the class, what to do after the class. So the students will be on the same page. Then you put another task saying that read a book chapter. So read a book chapter that you can upload the information online, or you can just tell them, if you have a physical book, just read that. And you tell them then watch a video. Then you can open up a discussion board, and then people can post on the discussion board based on your questions and then the criteria that you provide them. And then ask them to submit the assignment for this week. And then if they have any questions, obviously, you can invite them to book your office hours. You can talk with them one-on-one, because one thing that the students will miss a lot when they're learning online is this interpersonal connections with their instructors. So we use kind of meeting softwares like Zoom or Collaborate to do that. And then you can also do a one-on-one online meeting with them. So that hopefully can bring them closer to you, and you have a better customized engagement with your students. And don't forget, here are also important resources for your students. Regardless where you are teaching, students need support when you move everything online. So there are a few major support resources for your student. The first one is online skills and strategies. You probably can do a quick search on the internet and find videos or articles that talking about online skills to help them kind of have a crash course about online learning skills. That's critical. And if your school or your college, university have good library guides and tutorials, feel free to attach the links to them so they can better utilize the resources in their library. And then student success officers. So if they're experiencing stress, they probably can dial into their online counseling centers to talk things out. Or if they have questions about registration, other things, they can contact. So these informations are good to have and good to provide for your students. So here it wraps up everything about putting your course online. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will try my best to reply. Good luck for your online learning transformation, and stay focused and keep things consistent throughout the semester, and make it simple and focus on the 3 major purpose of an online: present information, student engagement, and assignment and grades. All right, so good luck.